Outgoing People's National Party's General Secretary Julian Robinson has stated that he is extremely satisfied with the presidential campaign and its progress. He also mentioned as well that they are working on finalizing the budget for the presidential elections. Julian Robinson, who is the outgoing General Secretary of the People's National Party, has expressed that in spite of some less than flattering statements that were made on social media platforms by some supporters, the presidential contest between Lisa Hanna and Mark Golding has gone relatively smoothly. There has been some utterances on social media platforms, not from the candidates themselves, but from their supporters, that I believe had fallen below the mark. But generally, I think we have managed okay. However, it has not been perfect. Robinson went on to state that they have a monitoring committee that is in place. The candidates have signed a code of conduct, and they will be monitoring things and trying to hold people accountable for their actions. He further acknowledged that social media has changed the dynamics in every respect, as each individual now has a voice. They do not have to go to media outlets to voice their opinions and concerns. They can do it on social media, and some of the things that have been said on social media are of great concern to the People's National Party. General Secretary Robinson said that the party is trying to keep things at a level so that whatever the outcome of Saturday's delegates' conference to elect the next PNP president, that they can all unite after the results have been announced. Because the issue of disunity has been a huge factor in the party over the past couple of years. The statement that has been made by Robinson is an acknowledgement of the bitter and bruising presidential campaign that occurred in September 2019 between former Central Manchester Member of Parliament Peter Bunting and the current outgoing President of the People's National Party, Dr. Peter Phillips. This presidential campaign ended with a narrow win for Peter Phillips on September 7th in 2019. Based on statements that have been made by political analysts, it is being suggested that that contest, which included supporters of both Phillips and Bunting trading some caustic statements on social media, caused devastation in the People's National Party and led to more divisions and factions in that party as well. They have mentioned that this fractured the party and led to the massive defeat that it suffered at the hands of the Jamaica Labour Party in the September 3rd parliamentary elections. When everything settled on the night of the election, the PNP was only able to say that they won 14 seats to the Jamaica Labour Party's 49. This in part was led by Dr. Peter Phillips, who is also the Member of Parliament for East Central St. Andrew. And at that moment, he made a decision to walk away from representational politics and will be vacating office on November 6th as the President of the PNP and also the opposition leader. Saturday's presidential elections will see approximately 3,400 delegates, which will again be presided over by the Electoral Office of Jamaica, and this will take place at various polling locations in each parish in an effort to reduce crowding due to the pandemic. Previous elections for the People's National Party have been held in the National Arena in Kingston and on the grounds of Jamaica College. They have had parish locations largely because of the pandemic, because they do not want large congregations of people in one location. So they have identified locations in each parish so that persons can go to the location to vote in their parish. They will vote at their location, and then the Electoral Office of Jamaica, who has responsibility for managing the election on the day, will calculate the results and provide a result to the PNP as soon as 5 p.m. on election day. Julian Robinson further mentioned that delegates in Kingston and St. Andrew will cast their votes at the Michael University College, while those in St. Catherine will vote at the Cedar Grove Academy. In Clarendon, delegates will vote at Glenmuir High School and at the Manchester High School in Manchester. Delegates will also vote at the St. Elizabeth Technical High School in St. Elizabeth and at Herbert Morrison High in St. James and at Mannings High in Westmoreland. The People's National Party will hold a press conference on Wednesday to provide more details about Saturday's presidential elections. The People's National Party has yet to finalize the presidential elections budget. With less than 2 days to go before the People's National Party has to prepare for the PNP's presidential elections to allow delegates to vote to select its new president. The party secretariat is reporting that they have not finalized just how much money they will need to spend on the elections. The General Secretary, Robinson, has mentioned that all is in place for Saturday's delegates to vote. But this will be conducted over 12 locations across Jamaica instead of a single venue as is usual. But a full tally of the cost has not yet been done. For each location, there is a small fee, not a major fee, but we will have to rent some tables and chairs, some tents and some barriers, but I have not put the cost together. There is also a fee for the Electoral Office of Jamaica, but I would not say that I have a total cost for the presidential elections at the moment. I am trying to work out whether it is actually cheaper to do it this devolved way rather than one location. And we can do that assessment after, but there are costs involved logistically for the Secretariat with each of the locations and the multiple venues. Just over 3,400 delegates are registered to vote on Saturday to determine if the Member of Parliament for St. Anne South Eastern, Lisa Hanna, or the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Southern, Mark Golding, will replace Dr. Peter Phillips as the President of the PNP. And according to the General Secretary, the public will be made aware of the results by 5 p.m. on Saturday, November 7th. The voting is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. and will close at 3 p.m. at the 12 locations across Jamaica, and this will be managed by the Electoral Office of Jamaica. According to the General Secretary of the People's National Party, the change from a single location for voting to multiple locations was in response to the pandemic. He further mentioned that all pandemic-related protocols will be observed during the voting process, with only registered delegates being allowed to enter the compounds where voting is occurring. All delegates will be required to have their Electoral Office of Jamaica IDs for identification purposes. The Electoral Office of Jamaica will have a computer at each location, which can verify the identity of all the delegates and substitute delegates, those who were selected to vote if an original delegate is unable to attend. And all of this will happen at 2 p.m. An election center will be established at the PNP headquarters as well, where the Electoral Office of Jamaica officials and members of the party's Appeal and Monitoring Committee will be present and will operate from. The Secretariat will have a representative at each of the voting locations to ensure that everything goes smoothly. He further mentioned that just about 1/3 of the delegates, or 1,100, will vote at the Michael University College in Kingston. Delegates in Portland and St. Mary will vote at St. Mary High School. The Secretariat will still be working out the arrangements for supporters of the winner who might want to celebrate in the vicinity of the party's headquarters after the results have been announced. He mentioned that he is aware that each team will have an area that they intend to entertain their supporters, but they have to observe the pandemic protocols in that vicinity, in addition to everywhere else, and it is something that they are still working out the logistics of. They are putting in place measures. The teams will be putting in place their measures to ensure that their people comply. He was supported by PNP Chairman Fitz Jackson. With all of these statements and declarations, Fitz has mentioned that the Secretariat would be imploring the delegates and the candidates to ensure that supporters adhere to the protocols, despite their enthusiasm and jubilation, which will take precedence after the results have been announced. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Are you also concerned about the statements that have been made by PNP supporters on social media, not just in 2020, but in previous years? I'm sure Ms. Hannah will have something to say about those statements that have been made, as she is constantly saying that she is coming under pressure from these statements that have been made, and they are usually directly aimed at Ms. Hannah. However, she may be calling for some changes, and of course, if she may become the next president of the People's National Party, then expect changes to come in that regards, and she may be aiming to asking and leaning towards enacting some changes that will hold persons accountable who make some caustic statements or allegations on social media about the People's National Party and its affiliates. Thanks for watching, and of course, are you in agreement with the PNP choosing to use multiple locations over one single location as they would have previously used? And do you believe that they will be following and adhering to all pandemic-related protocols during the election on Saturday and whilst the results will be announced at 5 p.m.? Thanks.